In this video we're going to take the axle out of the wheel. So I've taken the wheel off the board. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is to take the axle blocks off so that we can remove the axle. Okay, once we've got the axle blocks off, we'll clean everything so that we don't have any chance of any crap getting onto the stator when we take it out. I'm going to cover this plug so we don't get any damage or crap in the plug. Once we've covered the plug, we'll just pop it back inside the axle, out of the way. So the next thing to do is to just feel the edges of the axle. It's only an aluminium alloy axle and you get burrs quite easily on that. Now mine had burrs on it when I got it. You can see here where I've used a flat file just to rub those burrs off. So it's not hard to do. It comes off quite easily. But without the burrs, it'll make it easier when the bearings slide over that axle. Okay, that's all ready to go. Next step is we'll take out all these bolts. I've got all the bolts out. Now we'll turn it over and we'll start knocking the axle through. We knock it through from this back side. You can use a rubber mallet to hit on this axle, or you can use a piece of hardwood, timber, and use a steel hammer if you want. Just tap gently through the hardwood. So we'll give this a bit of a try. I'm just going to tap straight on the axle. It's hit the table there. Next thing is we put some blocks so that they hit on the outside of the tyre, not this plate that we're trying to move. And just set that up. Then we can continue on hitting the axle through. Okay, the axle is all the way through. It's past the bearing. The bearings are only 10 mil wide, quite narrow. And we've got the stator started to come out on this side. The next step is to put the bearing block on the power cable side back onto the axle. Once the block's on, then we attach one of the side rails to that bearing block. It doesn't have to be done up tight, and just finger tight is fine. We will use the rail then to pull the stator out of the hub. Set yourself down on a nice clean spot, drop your knees to the tyre, and then just pull up slowly. It's as simple as that. So the paper's there to try and keep things as clean as possible because any bits of dirt, crap, whatever, is likely to be attracted to the magnets. So just try and keep that as clean as you can. To replace the stator, we just do it in reverse, but be ready for the grab when the magnets decide to pull it in. Also be aware to keep it square, directly over the hole so that you don't damage the hall sensors as you lower it in. Okay, now that you've got the axle out of the hub, I guess there's only a couple of reasons why you do it. One's replace the bearings or to replace the hall sensor, which is this part here. Now to replace the hall sensor, you'd have to desolder 3 wires there, 3 here and 3 over here. Remove the gunk off that plug and then 3 screws at the bottom to take your hall sensor out. Seems like a bit of a job. You'd need good soldering skills to do that. The other reason you'd open it up is to take the bearings out, which I think by the look of it seem to be a bit of a consumable. So to take them out, I'll just take one of these out to show you how I would do it. I would use a block of wood. I'd probably use a steel hammer, because a steel hammer will give you a sharper hit. Just tap each side. Put it up on some blocks. Keep tapping one side, and there's your bearing. So it's not hard to take out. The bearing from the cap here and the bearing from the main hub, you just do them both the same way. To put them back in, you sit the bearing into the hole, just line it up, press it in, and then gentle taps each side. Okay, you can see here we're sticking up high on this side and it's in low here, so we'll tap this high side in. Okay, bearings back in, seated in, and that job's done as well. It doesn't matter which way the bearings go in, put them in one way, the other, it doesn't really make any difference. Okay, another thing I'd like to talk about is the O-rings under the bearings. The original O-rings are 1.5 millimeters thick, and there's been some reports of oil leaking. I also found that the 1.6 millimeter seemed to be too thin for the groove that's there. So I went and bought Imperial O-rings at 1/16 of an inch thick, which is almost just under 2 millimeters thick. So they're a bit thicker at 1/16 of an inch. And I find they fit much better in the groove. Now, another thing I'd like to note is it seems Tony assembled the thing without any grease on it, and as a result we ended up with shavings of poor old O-ring because it's just got no lubrication when it goes in. So I'm going to suggest that when you put it together, just put some grease all over your O-rings. Make sure the O-ring's covered all the way, and that'll just help the larger O-ring to compress and not end up being shaved off by the two opposing metal pieces that come together. So put your grease on the large O-ring here on the cap, and also both ends of your axle. The other thing about the grease in there, you've got an aluminium axle and you've got cast iron bearings. So you've got two different types of metal there, and if you get any water in there, you've got the potential for galvanic corrosion, which is because they're two dissimilar metals. By putting the grease on it, it stops that from happening. It won't be a problem. Okay, we'll put our top plate on. And there we have it. I'd just like to show you, I use my Dremel here to remove the sharp edges inside there where the power cable comes out. Just allows you to pull the cable out and push it back in a bit easier than when it's left with the sharp edges. It just helps you to connect the motor up when you're assembling the board. Okay, we've put our axle in. It hasn't gone all the way in. It's probably hitting on a O-ring or something we've got in there. So the next thing is to First thing is to line up all your holes with your axle. These screws are a 4mm Allen key. Line them up, screw your screws in, but don't screw them up tight, just bring them down until they're touching the plate. So it's important to get the holes lined up with your screws first while the plate's up high, because when you push the plate down, it's very hard, it gets harder to move to line up your holes. So we get all our screws in. At this point, everything's lined up. We can probably tap it in further, tap it home, and then continue on with doing up all your screws. So there we have it. One motor, wheel, hub, axle assembly all put back together. It's ready to go back into the board.